you wrote for the Green Arrow Black Canary comic book. How is it different writing the comic book incarnations versus writing the TV version?
Well, you get paid a lot more to write the TV version. Our take on the character in the TV show is a lot more grounded and realistic than he's ever been portrayed, and certainly in the comic. In the comic book, he really is part of the DC universe. With the Justice League and Superman and Batman and Count Vertigo and villains with superpowers. And for the TV show, we've done away with a lot of that. That the only vigilante or the only masked hero in the world is Oliver Queen, and there are no aliens and there are no supervillains, and it's just a much more realistic take on the character. So that's really been the big difference. Writing is writing, and storytelling is storytelling, and whether it's TV or comics, you always want to tell the most emotional, most exciting story you can. But it's really our take on the character that's the big difference.
So they screened the pilot on Wednesday night during preview night.
Yes.
Fan reaction, seems to be very positive so far with everything that we've seen and heard. What is your reaction to the Comic-Con take? I guess is.
It's been surreal. I mean, I'm a huge genre fan. I've been coming to Comic-Con for the last 13 years, and it's surreal to see, something that I wrote now on, taxi cabs and bags and posters, and to be here with Steven and Katie. It's just great. I mean, I love Comic-Con. It's just, it's Christmas for people like me and you. And to be contributing to that, and to see people be excited for Arrow, especially in the summer where there are so many exciting things between the Dark Knight and the Avengers, and to hear people excited for us too, just it's really special.
When the project was first announced, there was some talk about the fact that this was being done so soon after Smallville had with Green Arrow. Was there a conscious decision on your part to kind of separate the character as much as possible from what we did see on Smallville, or is that never really crossing your mind?
For us, we were starting from scratch, the whole time. I think there was a lot of, public speculation about it, more so than it ever was on our part. And that's not to dismiss what they did on Smallville. I mean, I was a huge fan of Smallville and loved the show, and I, certainly love Justin's take on the character. Our Oliver Queen, aside from the, him being a playboy who was shipwrecked on an island and came back with a mission of social justice. That's about where it ends between, Justin's version and Steven's version, and one doesn't obviate the other. Justin's version is there for people to enjoy, but we wanted to do something, where you could come to it clean, where you didn't need the Smallville connection, and hopefully the people who enjoyed the character on Smallville will give us a chance. Like, one of the great things about superheroes is that you can love the Michael Keaton version of Batman, you can love the Christian Bale version of Batman, and you can love the Adam West version, and they're all great, and one doesn't obviate the other. So hopefully people will tune in.
There's a moment in the pilot where I think it's Laurel says that her father says to always stay within the law. Mm-hmm. Is this a reference to her mother by any chance?
No, it's really yes, I know what you're saying. No, it's really to help set up the dynamic of what the series is about, and exploring what it really means to be a vigilante, and setting her father up as the chief antagonist to Oliver. I mean, every week Oliver will be facing a bad guy, but the truth is his real nemesis is Detective Lance, who's trying to bring him into justice. And Detective Lance, who over the course of the series we'll learn has suffered some devastating emotional losses. He's really thrown himself into his work. And the only way he can sort of see to keep his sanity is to really believe in law and order. And somebody like the Arrow comes along who is operating outside the law, and whether he's doing it for good or bad, it doesn't jibe with Lance's worldview. And his daughter is going to be caught in the middle because she loves and respects her father, and she's always believed what he believed, but at the same time she's going to see this this dark urban legend out there that's actually doing a lot of good, the kind of good that she wants to be doing in her role as a legal aid attorney. So, the show is all about triangles, and not just love triangles. It's always, we always want somebody caught in the middle of a philosophical debate. So that's where that line comes from.
So you, go ahead.
What David mentioned about other characters from the DCU going to be appearing, but as sort of normal folks, some rumors of which ones are there. You've written for DC Comics. You wrote Batman. Bruce Wayne was. You wrote some Batman, didn't you? And,
I did.
Yeah, and Bruce Wayne was rumored to go in Smallville, and then I've heard a rumor about Arrow. Might he make an appearance?
I don't see that happening anytime soon. One of the great things about DC and the DC universe is that there are a lot of characters there, we don't want to do anything that's going to outshine Oliver, because he really is the main focus. But what's fun for us is, there are plenty of characters in the DC universe that are sort of like huge fan favorites, and we're looking forward to whether they were associated with Green Arrow or not, and we're looking forward to introducing them on the show.
Mention me?
There are going to be a few announcements today, but if you see the pilot, there's an image early on that's a fairly big indicator of where we're going with one of the characters, and that individual will for sure be making an appearance.
So I know that you guys haven't started shooting yet, but have you started writing?
Yes, we've written the second and third episodes.
Is there anything you can tease already?
They're really good. It's an expansion of what you saw. We have a couple of DC Comics villains in both the second and third episode. In the second episode, one you've never seen before outside of the comics, and then the third, someone you have seen before, but you're going to be seeing in a very different light. We want to tease.
We won't tell anyone.
Right. You and your cameras.
Just for show,
Mum's the word.
I think I'm gonna have to state "mum's the word." This is my. You got to be gentle with me. This is my first time out. No, we're really excited. We're really happy. The response. It's funny. You work on a lot of TV shows, and the crew just sort of goes about their business. And we were so blessed to have David Nutter be our director on the pilot, and the kind of talent that he attracts, and all those people who came along, and people really took pride in working on this show, and so many of those people have come back for the series, and the response from the crew and the cast on reading the second episode was it was really amazing and gratifying, and just hearing people say, God, we had hoped that the series was going to be as good as the pilot, and so far the response from people who've read the scripts and feel like we're moving in that direction. So
how far in advance, when you're putting the series together, do you have ideas for subsequent seasons, or you're just looking at the first season?
We have some sort of like grand plans. We sort of, Greg Berlanti and Mark Guggenheim and I, who created the show, we've done enough series now to know that it's good to have a plan, even if you shy away from it at some point. But, we have some grand plans for overarching stories. We have this season pretty well mapped out, at least as far as the big signposts along the way. There's the mid-season finale. There's leading up to the season finale. One of the good things I think about this show, and one of the things we sort of learned from the Dark Knight movies is to put it all out there. We could always think of another story. So, I think fans will be excited to see that, this series is not, we pressed the pedal down on the pilot and we're never taking it off. So, I think by the end of the season, hopefully people will say, well, how are they going to do this again next year?
How many episodes this season?
We have the network order 12 so far. So, hopefully fans will tune in and we'll get the back 9 and
Go for it.
In scoping of the season so far, are you having any difficulties trying to balance the mythology thread versus the episode of the storylines, or are there some episodes that are much heavier with mythology so far that you're finding, or is the balance going okay?
I think the balance is going okay. One of the things we designed in the series is that there are flashbacks in every episode, and they're in chronological order. So just having that has sort of given all the episodes a spine, and having that flashback story speak to the present day story. Again, we're huge genre fans. Buffy is my favorite show of all time. So, and Doctor Who. So, I worship at the altar of Joss Whedon and Stephen Moffat. So, I think you'll be seeing that sort of, in the same way that they both of them are so clever about, making sure every episode is enjoyable on its own, but then giving you enough to sort of and connect the dots. And, it's very important for us to sort of we don't throw plates in the air without having a way to catch them. So hopefully that as the series progresses, you'll be able to look back and even into the pilot and go, oh my God, that's why they did that. Because that's certainly been our intention.
I have a question. Is your Booster Gold project still in play?
Yes, I'm actually turning that in next month. And it was very cool. I got to meet Dan Jurgens last night, who created the character in the comic books, who I'd never met before. So I spent a lot of time explaining to him what a fan I was, so he didn't think I was some random gun for hire who was going to ruin his baby.
Are we going to continue to have Arrow tie-in comics like the one that's been given out at Comic-Con?
I hope so. I think in success, hopefully, we've talked, possibly about either, having the character in the comics start to more closely resemble our take on the character, or maybe even having a comic book tie-in like they had with Smallville or Supernatural. We're certainly open to everything. I guess it's however much the fans want is however much we will give them.
That's all the time we have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.